Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Full Potential Show. I'm James Rick. This is your #1 non-boring source for personal development. Today on the line, we have Vickie Sullivan. Vickie is a market strategist for experts. She's the author of Springboard Marketing, How to Turn Your Expertise into an Empire. And it's not only a book, it's 7 CDs and a manual. It's a complete learning system for you expertise builders into an empire. And today, guess what we're going to talk about? You guessed it, how to turn your expertise into an empire, for heaven's sake. And today, to talk to us about that is Vickie Sullivan. Vickie, so glad to have you on the show today.
Oh, thanks so much, James. I'm thrilled to be here.
Thrilled to have you, and I'm sure all these experts and authors and teachers out there would certainly learn how to take their expertise and make it an empire.
Absolutely.
So it's a very relevant subject. Including myself. I happen to be a little empire builder myself. So let's dive right in. First of all, let's talk about the story behind the story. What was it that you were up to before you started this strategy for building an empire?
Sure. Actually, I was in politics. I was a registered lobbyist for a healthcare concern. And what I did is I took potential legislation, before a bill became law, and I interpreted it for a variety of constituencies. So I would take this section and say, now you people, y'all not going to like this part. You need to do blah, blah, blah. And then I'd go over here and say, now y'all going to like this part. You need to do blah, blah, blah. So I was like an air traffic controller for opinions.
But that sounds really exciting, Vickie.
Thanks.
I can see your motivation for moving into a new line of work.
Yeah. About after 4 or 5 years, it was time to leave.
Time to go. Time to move on. Well, and so what got you into this? How did you make the transition?
Oh, it was a fabulous accident, actually. When I decided to get out of politics, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I answered an ad in a trade journal to promote a personal growth speaker for 10 hours a week. And I said, that'll save me, extend my savings until I find out what I really want to do. And so I took the job. They hired me on the spot. And I just fell in love with speakers. I mean, they're good people. They want to do fabulous things in the world. They're not trying to hurt anybody. They just want to create good.
Just want to help people.
Yeah, and I wanted to help them, and so I started working with speakers, and then I got almost famous in Phoenix because I tripled the revenue for one speaker, and she told everybody, and people found out, and so the rest, they say, is history.
And so you went from being this agent for experts to moving into a different line of work. So I know you were doing this for a number of years, and then in I think it was 98, you started to make the transition then.
Absolutely. What happened was I opened up the strategy division in 1990 because I saw some trends happening in the marketplace, and people weren't talking about the trends, and so they weren't acting on them. So I found fairly quickly that I could not promote all the people that were coming to me, so at least I could help them by pointing them in the right direction. And then back in 1998, I had a client that called me, and he says, we worked together a year ago, and of course I remembered him, and he says, I want you to know what happened after we worked together, because it's been almost a year. And of course I have a guilty conscience, so I thought the wheels fell off. I had no idea what happened. Well, as it turned out, he generated between $600,000 and $800,000 in new revenue. And he said, you have to know that you played a pivotal role here. We could not have done it without you. And what I realized after that conversation is I had to walk my own talk. I was telling people to change and to let go of their security blanket and all that kind of stuff. Well, what I learned is the agenting was my security blanket, and that I could create a whole lot of good if I pointed people in the right direction and told them how to make the most of what they know. And so once and it took me a year to let go of the blanket. I was just really, really holding on tight. But when I did, my business doubled overnight. And it was fabulous, and it's grown by double digits ever since.
All right, Vickie, so let's dive in and let's talk about springboard marketing.
Sure.
And how it can really help folks that are watching today that have something to package and sell, that have information they want to get out there in a bigger way, and that have a message that they want to reach more folks. And I know that everybody I've interviewed on the show, if they're watching, I know they're that kind of person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know that people, even if they're not somebody who's been on the show, has a message, has something for somebody that they want to share. We're all expressive beings. Mm-hmm. And so they may be at the start of their journey, they may be halfway through, they may be close to the end. Either way, I think there's a lot of value that can be gained from understanding how this process works. So what are some tips that you can offer to folks that are watching right now that maybe they could do right when they leave from
Well, the
today's show?
first tip I would say is to pay attention to the marketplace. And to pay attention to the marketplace with an open mind and an open heart. And what I mean by that is you can't just say, here's my story, here's my message, ta-da, done. You know, you have to look at what conversations are already happening and what fresh voice can you add to that conversation. So you have to really intersect what people want with what you have. Because what I've learned, James, is that people have so many gifts. They just don't know what to do with them. So you've got to figure out what to do with the gifts that you have. Just having a gift is the first step. It's not the only step.
Can you give a specific example of what it means to pay attention to the marketplace and to merge your story or message with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had a client who was a fabulous executive coach. I mean, she was, people loved her. The problem was she was invisible. Very few people knew about her. And when they knew about her, they didn't know what to do with her. And that is a major barrier in the marketplace that a lot of people suffer from. Folks can think you're fabulous, but if they don't know what to do with you, they're not going to hire you. Mm-hmm. They're just not. Mm-hmm. So it's our job to make sure people know what to do with us. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so I told her, I said, here's what people can do with you. Here are the people that you serve. Describe their journey. Describe their environment. And so we took what she already knew and we applied it to someone who really needed her help.
Okay.
And so as a result, she sang the new song to someone who was interested in her work, and she doubled back the investment with one conversation. She doubled back the investment she spent on me.
Well, what it sounds like to me, Vickie, is that we, as you said, we all have gifts, but we haven't clarified how somebody can use that. We haven't clarified what gifts we're offering.
Exactly.
A lot of it is clarity. Just in that process, there's a lot of value.
Absolutely. And what I find is that folks are clear about what they want to offer because they've searched their heart. They've gone to a coach and said, hey, this is your gift. So there's a lot of clarity about that. What I'm seeing a lot less of is clarity about what people can do with our gifts. And when I do see that clarity, it's very much in generalities. Like, well, I inspire people. Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? Inspiration's everywhere. Okay? I mean, I hate to sound mean, all right? I'm not trying to sound mean, but inspiration is everywhere. We got to have a little bit more than inspiration.
Give us some meat.
Give us some meat. And in fact, you know, James, that's a major trend in the marketplace right now, is a lot of folks are wanting practical application. So if you just go up there and I meet a lot of people who do this, they say, well, here's my story. Mm-hmm. I want to tell my story in order to inspire people to overcome obstacles. Well, you know what? You can swing a stick and hit 10 people that have overcome obstacles. Mm-hmm. And they're all out there talking about it. Mm-hmm. So look at it from a buyer's point of view. How do you choose if everyone sounds the same? Mm-hmm. Different stories, different details, but similar message. How do they choose?
So you got to give them that differentiation, not only in the form of a story and inspiration, but also some specific things they can do to start incorporating the lesson from that story into practical steps they can take in their life.
Absolutely.
Love it. Okay, so really, you know, if you're hearing this, just think how you can appear different and how your story translates into real world action steps, not just the fuzzy feel good stuff.
And you know what, James, I've got 3 ways to do that if you want me just to start.
Oh, you fire away. I had a feeling you had 3 ways to do that.
There's 3 ways you can do this. Number 1, you can do what I call predict the future. All right. And the way you do this is you say, you know what, based upon what I know, and this could be from your past experiences, any analysis that you've done, here's what the future is about to look like. Prepare for it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, the poster child for this, and this is an author that's been around many, many years, but I absolutely love him, Harry Dent. You know, he talked about the roaring 2000s, and then he came in with, you know, the big depression ahead, you know, when he saw the data change. You know, he was one of the few that predicted what was, you know, the slowdown in choppy recovery that we're having. So he's a great example of predicting the future. Okay. Another way that people can differentiate their content is they can do what I call sound the alarm. Okay. And this is like, watch out, this can get you. Okay. Watch out, this can get you. And my favorite author and expert who does this is actually a pioneer on psychopaths. All right. He knows serial killers upside down and sideways. Okay. He wrote a book. His name is Dr. Robert Hare, and he wrote a book called Snakes in a Suit. And what this book says is, you know, psychopaths sometimes go off in a murderous rampage, and sometimes they don't.
They could be working in your office.
And those who do not commit violent acts get a job. You could be working for one of these folks. And it was a fabulous book. He got a lot of attention from it.
I bet, yeah.
So that's like sounding the alarm. So you've got predicting the future, you got sounding the alarm.
Okay. What's the third one?
The third one is redefine the journey.
Okay.
Redefine the journey. People are on a journey to do something. How is that journey different than what they think it is? Okay.
Give a concrete example of that.
Exactly. In the mass markets, a lot of fitness, wellness, this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking of an author, and forgive me, I can't remember their name right now.
That's okay. You're forgiven.
But they talk about instead of using, and before you start using medicine, here are some foods that can help you heal. Okay? So that changes the journey to health. Okay.
Right. It's not about the medicine. There's maybe some food preparation, maybe some food that you should eat before you have the medicine. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Exactly. Oh, and here's another one. Dr. Phil does this in an excellent way. He wrote a book called Self Matters. Okay. And what he did is he redefined the journey by being specific. And what he said is, instead of saying, here's how your past impacts you, he says, you can predict the trajectory of your life, the trajectory of your future, by looking at the top 7 people who impacted you and the top 5 moments of your life. Now, that redefines how you look at your life, how you decide how to carry yourself, how you decide to show up.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it does.
It defines the journey that you're on.
So the first 2 are pretty straightforward. Predict the future. You're putting out a prediction, and obviously people are going to want to pay attention because that's what's coming, especially if it's based on some accurate facts and sources.
Absolutely, and you got to be accurate. You
don't want to be too far out there.
Stuff up.
All right, don't make up stuff. Sound the alarm. That one again is very straightforward. Again, has to be backed by some credible foundation of evidence. Redefining the journey. This is a bit open to interpretation, but it has to jive with something.
It's got to be. How are people zigging instead of zagging?
Yeah.
Okay. What are people? Okay. Here's another one. Here's a bonus strategy that's probably more straightforward.
Okay.
I call this calling the game. Okay. It's one of my favorites. Point out the white elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about.
Okay.
Okay. So in this situation, what's going on that is felt but not discussed, that people are afraid to talk about, you bring it out there.
Okay, yeah, and now this is separate from redefine the journey. This is a
Sure.
this is a fourth
strategy.
thing you can do.
Yeah, fourth thing you can do.
Okay, calling the game, you call it. Point out
Yep.
the white elephant in the room nobody wants to talk about.
Exactly. Because you know what? If you verbalize the invisible, people think you're a guru. They do. I'm serious. It's like the light bulb comes on and they're like, Shazam.
And they do say that too. You can see it in their lips. Shazam. All right, so Vickie, we've got 4 ways to really stand out and pay attention to the marketplace. You can predict the future, you can sound the alarm, you can redefine the journey, and you can call the game.
Yeah.
All excellent ways to start standing out and differentiating yourself. I love it. Before we wrap up, because we are running out of time, I do want to know if there's any burning lessons, any burning tips in your mind, because I know we didn't get to everything, and then I'm going to ask you, I know you've got this great resource on your website. I'm going to ask you for that in a moment. But tell me, are there any other or even just one tips that you think people really need to know before they leave today's interview?
Sure. Always leave people with a next step. Always leave people with the next step.
So that's very relevant to what we're talking about. Then.
Absolutely. If you give a speech and you're speaking so that people will work with you, like you're a consultant or a coach, or if you want people to buy your book, okay, that can be a next step. Do not expect people to leap with you. They will step with you. So when you're speaking, do not expect someone to pay $1 gazillion to consult with you. Do a smaller project first so they can get a sample of your work.
And would these steps be graduated levels of commitment too?
It could be. It absolutely could be. It depends on the audience.
But not always.
Not always.
Okay.
I mean, I've walked away after a speech with 6 figures. But, the thing is that it depends on the audience. If you're dealing with more mass markets, then a book is great, a $20, $25 book. A lot of people can sign up, and I'm just going to use myself as an example. I am such an advocate for market intelligence and knowing where the opportunities are and what to do with them. I give away that analysis for free. So if you go to my site, sullivanspeaker.com, and in the upper right-hand corner, it'll say, get the latest market intelligence in your inbox. Sign up for that, and every 2 weeks, you get my analysis.
And is that the next step for everybody, Vickie?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Why
not? That's sullivanspeaker.com. Vickie
Absolutely.
Sullivan, she's a market strategist for experts. She's going to help you turn your expertise into an empire. She's helped to give us some great tips here today. Vickie, thank you so much for being on today's Full Potential Show.
You bet. Thank you so much for having me, James. It was fabulous.
You are a pleasure. Thank you so much.
You got it.
Well, that concludes this week's episode of the Full Potential Show, your #1 non-boring source for personal development. I'm James Rick, and if you want to get more positive programming for your brain absolutely free on a weekly basis, just visit fullpotential.com.
If you like the Full Potential Show, you're going to love the Full Potential Club. What would you like most as a Full Potential Club member? Be 2 to 3 times more productive? Do what you're passionate about? Have more energy? Reduce your work hours? Travel the world? Enjoy an amazing lifestyle on a frugal budget? What if you could do them all? James Rick has been there and done it in ways that few people have. For anyone serious about taking their life or business to the next level, you've got to do more than just watch. You've got to do. Join James Rick and other like-minded people for an incredible $10 a month at fullpotential.com/club. Be educated. Be empowered. Be the best version of you. fullpotential.com/club. Try it free for 30 days.